Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are dipping our toe into one of my favorite series of the last 2 years. It is called The Department of Truth. And John, have you heard of this or read it before?
No, I had not heard of this except for you. You just talking about like as soon as we can get to this, we need to get to this comic.
Yes.
No, but just like from the initial, like you told me about it, so I kind of went and looked at the, did the normal like, okay, I went and looked at the cover, went read the little snippet on it and whatnot. I was like, ooh, that sounds interesting. Like it definitely like piqued my intrigue right away.
Right. Yeah, and I mean this is right up my alley as far as what I want in a comic. The art is weird and crazy and fantastic and different. The writing is on point. Like everything about it is smart and unique. And then even the stuff that's not unique, like the main concept of it, isn't the first time I've heard of this concept, but the way it's done is definitely unique. Specifically, one issue in this I loved a lot more than all the others. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But The Department of Truth is by James Tynion and Dan Simmons, and Tynion's like an author, like a more modern author. I think he started writing in like the early 2010s for DC. I think he wrote a Constantine run, I believe. Which I read, but it didn't click with me at all. So I was like, okay, I didn't recognize his name or anything. And then later on, like maybe 2019 or so, he was doing Batman, and everybody was like, oh, it's amazing, it's so good. And I didn't really like that either. But all of his kind of indie stuff I like a lot. So it's kind of interesting. But
Maybe
like
I would say maybe his like per his voice, like for his his stuff he wants to do personally is a little more like speaks to you.
yeah, like this, and there's another one called World Tree I'm really into that he's writing. There's one called Something's Killing the Children, which I've read. That one's not my favorite, but it's still pretty solid. For everybody else seems to love it. It's not horror enough for me personally. This gets way more into the horror realm of what I like to see than Something's Killing the Children. But it's also like, I mean, this is basically like X-Files for modern day, right? Like if you liked the X-Files as a kid, this is the new hotness of that.
Yeah.
Would you say that's right?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say that that's exactly what this is like in the vein of.
Okay. So yeah, like this is volume 1, The End of the World, which is the first 5 issues. And I love how this starts. You might know, if you know me well, you know I'm a big fan of Stephen King. And my favorite book, or one of my top 3 books of his, is 11/22/63, which is the one about Kennedy being killed. And this book starts off with Lee Harvey Oswald being questioned by the police and the CIA, assumingly, about like, did you shoot the president? Who are you? Or do you work in this book depot? And immediately, like page 1, I was like, yes, I'm in this. So I don't know how you feel. Everybody's got different feelings about that being used, like it's overdone or it's trite. So I've heard some people say, but I don't know. What are your feelings on like this whole Lee Harvey Oswald intro?
I was fine with it. I've always had a fascination with presidential history myself. So I was fine with it. I thought it was cool. This is, we talked about this a little bit because you and I think we're on the same page. Like I definitely was gripped right away with this. I was like, oh, okay. Like we're using a really significant point in American history as like the kickoff point for this comic. I'm like, okay, cool. And then because you had heard of and understood this concept a little bit beforehand, I think you definitely like you were sold on it, and I was like confused it took me a couple issues to like really understand and like get into what was going on.
Which is weird because I know you've heard of this concept before. You just haven't thought of it like this, and I'll explain it when we get there.
Yeah.
But so like we said, it starts off in the interrogation room of Lee Harvey Oswald as he's being interrogated by police, and then another mysterious government agent comes in, and it's very clear that there was some plan set up where Lee Harvey was working with them, and they're like Lee Harvey saying, "So, am I still going to remember the truth? Like, am I going to know what actually is real, or is everything going to change for me as well?" And then the guy and the government guy says, "You'll still remember. Don't worry about it, and just say it so you know the truth." And then Lee Harvey says, "Up is down and down is up," and that is like a really good way to summarize what this series is like as a reader. Um, he's talking about, am I going to remember the real truth and stuff? You're like, okay, so what's the real truth? And then up is down and down is up. Like everything is thrown up in the air. Everything you think is thrown up in the air. And it comes down on different sides of things, which I thought was interesting. Even things that, like, as this writer, obviously James Tynion is probably liberal or whatever. So a lot of these these conspiracies that they go into are framed through a liberal lens. But at the same time, he's not shy about going in depth and kind of looking at these things through different um, lenses. Maybe not like right wing, but like specifically, the third issue is the one that I was like, whoa, he's like going farther than I ever thought he would, kind of in this kind of thing. We'll get there, but yeah. So this starts off with Lee Harvey Oswald like that. Then they cut to the present, where we see this new agent, or this FBI agent named Cole Turner. Right, Turner? Is that right?
Yeah, Cole.
Is it Turner? It starts with a T. Can't remember if it's Turner or not. I'm pretty sure it's Turner.
Yeah, it's Cole Turner.
So Cole Turner is being driven, and he's like, "I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up. I don't feel good." And basically, he has just gotten picked up by the the Department of Truth, one of their agents, and he has seen something. He's witnessed something, and they're questioning him about it. And he thinks that they're going to kill him because of what he's seen. So he gets to sit in a room with this. He gets brought into a room with this old guy, and the old guy's like, "All right, let's tell me what you saw. Tell me what you think you saw, and like tell me about what you were doing there at this thing." And it turns out that Cole is, like we said, an FBI agent who infiltrates, like, we'll say right wing because he's specifically talking about right wing groups in this, but conspiracy theory groups that just happen to be right wing, I think, on this run, and they're all talking about like, the flat Earth. What else? It's flat Earth and like mass shootings, the moon landing, things like that.
Yeah.
In these message boards, they're all, or I don't know if it's maybe forums. I don't know where they're talking about it. I guess.
Yeah, I think it's
chat rooms.
It started out in some online forums, kind of like 4chan and 8chan and stuff.
Yeah,
is what they're basically referencing. And then it's because then he goes to a conference, a Flat Earth conference.
Yeah, so he goes to the Flat Earth conference because he gets invited while he's undercover, and as he's there, he's like, "Man, they're all everybody you would think, right? Like a lot of them are just regular looking people that you wouldn't think are flat earthers, and how could they believe this kind of stuff?" But then one thing I liked is the art in this is very like creepy and weird and painted and kind of dreamy, and you don't really know what's real or not. The stuff that is in the real world is definitely more solid than a lot of the stuff where he's being interviewed in this room with the Department of Truth. The Department of Truth almost feels like a dream in itself while he's being interrogated. Just because of the way the art is like so soft and everything, except the harsh lights that are on him. But like everything in the background is black, right?
Oh yeah, and I love that because it seems like, yeah, like anytime they're outside or he's not like recalling something, it's very like it's still kind of like rough and like kind of like splattery and very like you said, like creepy is definitely a really good tone for that. But then yeah, when it's like him recalling stuff or him being interrogated or talking through it with someone, it's very like it's a little more toned. And on him, like it's very he's very well outlined and defined. But then when it goes back to whoever's talking to him, like sometimes you can see their eyes, and sometimes their eyes are really sunken in. You can't see anything. I really enjoy the way the art in this.
Yeah, it really just sets a tone and an atmosphere for this book. And one of the things that was creepy, like right away, is while he's like meeting all these people that are flat earthers, you know, he's like, oh, they're like normal people, except they all had this fucking smile on their face that said, like, I know something no one else does. And in that panel, it looks like he took a smile of like the Joker, like a cutout of the Joker, and put it on everybody's face, like copy and pasted it, or like, you know, actually cut it out from a magazine or something and put it over their faces, and it was so creepy looking. But yeah, like that's he's just getting this feel for this whole this all the people here, and like like you said, he's infiltrating the group like he's supposed to do for the FBI. Then he gets approached by someone who's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you. Come with me. We know who you are. You're with the FBI." And he gets brought into a room that is like, would you say this is supposed to be the Koch brothers or something?
Uh, yeah, I think so because yeah, I had not heard it, but since there was two of them, and I'm pretty sure
They're Texas oil people or whatever. So I think it's supposed to
yeah,
be the Koch brothers. But they like, I mean, obviously, allegedly,
yeah,
we're not. Yeah, they're lookalikes basically. They're stand-ins for the Koch brothers. So they tell him, you know, hey, like we're so glad to have like an inside man with us because like they know he's with the FBI, but they think he's a believer, and they're like, oh, do you believe, right? You do believe, right? And he's like, yes, I believe. Like of course I do. Show me all your horrible secrets so I can arrest you later. Um, but they take him into like this secret room where there's a bunch of more people watching a film, and it's like a literal film. Like there's a projector, like an old school one with like reels of film on it. And he's like, oh, I've seen this, but it's like from a different angle. And what it is it's the moon landing. But then as he looks in the background of this moon landing footage, he sees a government man just standing in the darkness with a cup of coffee. So it's like, oh my God, the moon landing is faked. So at this point, I mean, you're seeing proof, right, of what looks like, or Cole is seeing proof of what looks like the actual moon landing was faked. What'd you think about this part, John?
Oh yeah, I thought it was pretty great. I I could when they said it was from Kubrick's private collection, I didn't know if they meant Stanley Kubrick
Well, yeah, of
directed
course.
the.
What other
I just
Kubrick is there?
I just assumed, but I didn't know if they meant that it was just he had the footage saved in his stuff or he actually directed it. But either way, I was like, oh yeah, I was like, well that makes sense. I was like, okay, this is definitely that's another one very classic like the moon landing's fake. You know you can tell because of, you know you can see this in there and like oh there's other footage out there. Like I've heard that I don't know how many times. So that was a fun little like oh, okay like I kind of see like okay maybe I see where this is going.
Right. And then also in this room of a bunch of older white men is a woman dressed in a red dress, and she has sunglasses on. She never takes her glasses off, but he's like, I feel like she's watching me the whole time though. Like he's very creeped out by her. So she also stands out because she's wearing a bright red, almost like a '60s dress, like a Jackie O dress or something.
Mhm.
But it's bright red, so it really stands out.
And she got a red a scarf over her hair too, like a kind of like a bandana.
Yeah, yeah. So so then they're like, okay, so like you saw that, are you ready to see the good shit? Like the real good shit? And he's like, what? And so they tell him to get on a plane. He goes on a plane and he's like, we flew forever. We refueled like twice. And then eventually they were like, hey, look out the window. Check that out. And he looks out the window and he sees a flat earth. Like literally a flat. He sees the ice wall, right? That is and like, you know, one thing that you get to know later on is he starts feeling like sick and queasy and stuff as he sees these things. And that's specifically, and they don't go into it in this volume, but that's specifically because reality is being affected, right? So like you're getting sick because it's changing reality around you. It's like bending it. And so he starts freaking out and he's like, oh my God, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm going to vomit. And then he runs into the woman in red on the plane and she removes her glasses and she has these big X's over where her eyes should be. So she's not human, apparently. She's got some weirdness going on. We're not sure what she is yet. And they're like, oh man, pull yourself together. It's fine. Like, just come on out and you'll get to see the real stuff. And we'll get to like walk it. And they want to like show people the edge of the earth, basically. And everybody here is like, yeah, it's real. Like, they've been hiding it from us, and they all are like congratulatory of themselves. What'd you think at this moment, John? Like, holy shit,
Yeah,
is this book saying the Earth is flat for real?
this is kind of where I was like, okay, so like, yeah, what I was like, what's going on here? They or is this because it did say he basically kind of fell asleep and came to, so that was my only indication. I was like, well, wait a minute, is this something like they're like they took him someplace and they're showing
They're
it off?
faking it, or yeah,
Yeah, exactly, because like this is supposed to like be the line of blur the line.
right.
So I was like, okay, is this a huge fake thing that they're taking him to, or yeah, like it, or yeah, are they trying to say like the Earth is actually flat? So this was very much like this is where it started to be like,
But this
okay,
is actually Antarctica or whatever, where it's like, okay, this is the flat Earth and this is the ice wall.
yeah,
And that's why it's like, holy shit, because as they get off the plane and then they're like, okay, we're going to do a couple days hike to get up to the summit of this ice wall and see where it goes. A woman steps out and shoots everybody except Cole. And I guess the woman in red. And she murders all of them. And then she takes Cole, and that's pretty much where he picked up. Where, okay, so the woman that shot everybody was the woman that took him to the Department of Truth immediately from there, and that's where we are right now in the interrogation room. So, he doesn't quite understand, but basically they're like, yeah, we think you're like your Department of Truth material. We want to kind of recruit you, and then they mentioned that he's got like a history of some stuff in the 80s that makes him like extra qualified, I guess. And part of that is, well, they don't go into it yet, but basically they explain what he saw. They're like, hey, do you know what a tulpa is? And a tulpa, if you don't know, is like the concept that like thought form or like thoughts can give, if believed hard enough, can actually manifest in reality. So, and John, here's your example of, I know you know this idea, you son of a bitch, and you didn't think about it, is think about Bangarang, all right?
oh yeah,
The food isn't there until you think it is, and then all of a sudden you're eating dinner with the Lost Boys in Hook, all right? Same concept, same idea, just different
well,
use of it.
that's all he had to say. He could have said bangering and be like, oh, that makes
Yeah.
sense now.
Well, he explained it in a more straightforward way. And like, I mean, we are Cole in this, right? Like we don't know what's going on. So he explains it to Cole, but then Cole kind of does say like, oh yeah, I know what a tulpa is because I'm not fucking, I'm not from the 1970s or something. Because he starts to explain like, yeah, like, here, I'm gonna blow your mind, son. Like, you can change reality if you, and then Cole's like, believe it enough. Yeah, I know. I've heard that before. Like, I know the idea, at least the concept of it. And then the reason why I knew this concept, besides just like Peter Pan and stuff, is the book or show American Gods is based all on that concept too. Like, all of the gods in America, depending on how hard you believe in them, are more powerful or not.
Okay,
So that
I,
concept is very familiar to me.
I've wanted to read that, but I haven't sat down.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's I mean, that was maybe the first time I was ever introduced to that idea. But so like, yeah, to me, I was like, oh yeah, I'm picking up on this right away. But this is where you started to be confused, from what I understand, right?
Yeah, just because I was like trying to wrap my head around, because the thought of like that actually being like a real thing was like what? So I was like trying to like really like, okay, like how are they saying this real, that you just because you believe it manifested, like
It's not if
it was
you
weird.
believe it, if enough people
Enough
believe it.
people, yes, I'm sorry, if enough
And also, I mean, that
if the
is kind of
majority.
true, right? Like, if enough people in the United States believe one thing and the government is behind that thing, then that thing is true as far as that government is concerned. Am I correct? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why what the Cold War was about, right? These ideas that are pushing against each other. Each government says that they are right or wrong, or the other's right, or they're right and the other's wrong, and which truth is gonna win isn't necessarily the one that's real. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
who is strong enough, who believes it more. Those ideas are actually interesting concepts to think about, more than just the mystical side of it, like a tulpa or whatever, right?
yeah, more than like a figurehead or a caricature,
Right.
like the ideas of like, yeah, which type of, even like which type of government is like the best or whatever. Like, well, if enough
Right.
people believe in and like go for it, well, then yeah, that's going to be the ruling the ruling order of things. So
Right.
yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And so basically, you know, he talks about the older guy in this room talks about, you know, we want to have you on our team. We think you're good. Ruby here, who's the woman that shot everybody and brought Cole here, will help you out. She's basically your new partner. And like he tells him that like we're the good guys basically. Like we fight, you know, all these conspiracy theories that are trying to spread misinformation. And so like that's why we're here. We're the good guys and we need you to help us with that. And in fact, you've gone through some of that before because they do talk about how he was used in like, or no, how he had gone through when he was a kid, the 80s satanic panic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much you know about that stuff, John, but I liked that part a lot in this as well. And we'll get there in issue 2. But do you know much about that stuff, John?
Yeah, I actually the Satanic Panic is something because I've kind of gone through a little bit of yeah, things with my where my belief system is, and so I kind of have delved into a lot more of I guess the how religion plays a part in society, and so yeah, Satanic Panic definitely interests me, so I kind of dove into that a bit.
Okay, yeah. So I'm very aware of that because I grew up in the middle of that. I remember my parents reacting to that stuff, so it's very interesting for me. But then the big reveal at the end of this is as the old man leaves the room, he's like, "Welcome to the Department of Truth. My name is Lee Harvey Oswald." So it turns out that the leader of the Department of Truth, or the head, is Lee Harvey Oswald, and he was working for the government ostensibly, or the Department of Truth, to kill Kennedy. Is that what we're to believe? You know, like that's what they're setting up there, and that is where John, you had said like, so they're the good guys. Like that's kind of how you were looking at it in your head, and that's how they obviously want to be seen. Like they are fighting misinformation, is what you were kind of looking at it as. But I think this first issue is a great setup for against that. I mean, they killed a president. You know what I mean? Like this department killed a president in order to hide something or change reality in some way, right?
Well, yes and no. Like I get that, and I think that my thought, like I agree with that more now. But I think when I was reading it, my thought was, oh, I was like, so that is Lee Harvey Oswald. Well, wait a minute, like, so was he a patsy for something else that happened, or was it covering up, or was he really the like? Yeah, so I wasn't sold on that being
Okay.
the bad thing
Right. Yeah.
at that point.
Right. So issue 2, we start off right away with a young Cole who is being interviewed by someone. We don't know if it's like a therapist or whatever, or a police officer. But he's saying things like they're saying like, "Okay, tell us what happened next, Cole." And he's like, "I don't know." And then they're like, "Well, you said you were in the basement with Miss Harkey, and there was another man." And then Cole says, "Well, he was wearing a Dracula cape." And they're like, "What else do you remember? What did he look like?" And then were there any special markings, anything that could help us recognize him? And then Cole says, "A star. There was a star on his face and a Dracula cape." And they're like, "That's great, Cole. You're doing great." So basically, if you don't know what this is in reference to, in the late 80s, early 90s, kind of in the middle of this satanic panic, you might remember the satanic panic is just like Tipper Gore bringing, you know, Twisted Sister up on trial for like bad lyrics and shit.
Yeah.
Or like Two Live Crew or whatever. That was like part of it, right? That's kind of like the laughable part where you see like Frank Zappa having to testify before Congress about lyrics. But the other part of it was there was actually like prosecutions of teachers and stuff at preschools that were brought up on charges of like murdering babies and stuff. And basically what it was is, I guess there was such a fever pitch about Satanism in America that they some kids started saying weird things were happening in class. They were eventually questioned by police about it, and then they were like led like all the questions were leading, like it was saying, like, did you see any marks? And then the kid would say, a star, because he thinks that they want to hear about marks on someone. So then they just make up these things where they're like, there was a secret room behind the water cooler, and then we went downstairs, and there were a bunch of people, and there were babies, and they were eating them, and I had to taste the baby, and it tasted weird, and like just weird shit that you get these confessions from like 3-year-olds about secret rooms and basements and all this stuff. Makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
But it really happened. People got brought up on trial for like murdering children that were never found. There's no record of these babies. And like, how do you get brought up on trial with no body and no evidence? I don't know, but it did happen in the early 90s. So Cole was one of these kids apparently that was coerced into making these confessions. And specifically, he came up with a specific monster that was called the Star-Faced Man, and he's got a pentagram on his face, and he's kind of like Slender Man, but he's got like a more expressive face.
Yeah.
He's got eyes and a mouth and everything, but he's got a big pentagram that like crosses over his nose and eyes and everything. And then it just shows him eating babies, and he's always saying, "It's not real, Cole. Don't worry. They're okay. It's not real," as he's like slurping down baby guts. And so like that's what Cole remembers from being a child. And so like all of this with the Department of Truth and like these conspiracy theories being brought up, now that he's been recruited, it's all coming back to him, right? Like he's getting uneasy because now things that he thought were obviously fake might be real, right? Like is that what you got from it at first?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like as soon as he started remembering that, I was like, oh God, so he's remembering things from his childhood. Now he's gonna be questioning things he's seen all his life. And especially that, like I love the art of like this like weird slender creature. There's literally a baby on a plate and he's got like a fork and big old knife like up against it. It was very dramatic. And
Yeah,
I really enjoyed like, yeah, like
exactly
this,
what a kid would say is happening, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah. So this is affecting Cole's personal life with his husband Maddie, and so Maddie's noticing like, hey, you're not sleeping. Is this with the new job that's going on and stuff? And obviously Cole can't talk about it, but he says like, hey, I can't really talk about it, but it's obviously a new job and stuff. And so they we get to see like their nice kind of relationship together. I really like their relationship together. I don't know. What do you think about his husband and him relationship?
Yeah, I like that he seems really supportive, even though he couldn't like talk through like some of the specific stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Like obviously throughout all of his life, or throughout the relationship, Cole can't explain what's happening. But yeah, like, cause he works for the government, obviously, but, and that must be hard for a lot of people. Like, oh, it's top secret, babe. I can't talk about it. And also like, you imagine that's why I would think a lot of, at least in shows and stuff, they always show like cops or FBI agents like cheating on their wives and stuff or their partners, because it's like, one, they got all this hard, heavy shit to deal with that they can't talk to their partner about. So it kind of creates a rift. Then they're out all hours of the night and stuff. So it's like, okay, if they go get a bar, then they meet someone. It's like, well, then I'm going to sleep with them. It's like, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just by the nature of the job, it almost facilitates the cheating and stuff, or the bad relationships.
Yeah. I did like so only thing he does know about is the Starface from his childhood. And I did like the line, hey, it's okay, like remember he's not real. Those are just, the police led you to that. He's about as real as the reptilians. And I was like, I literally, that piqued me. I was like, are we gonna get some reptilian people in this?
Right. And then immediately we cut to Cole at a diner talking with Ruby, right? That's her name?
Yeah, Ruby.
Yeah. So Ruby, who's his partner that he's been assigned to, and she bought him pancakes because, she knows he's going through a bit of a hard time, and she's like, hey, let's talk about this. Like, why don't you tell me about some of those memories, with the Satanic Panic stuff. So we get a little bit of what he thought about all of it and how he's dealing with it, where like he's like, I thought that was all fake, and now you're telling me all this shit's real and these conspiracies are real. So like, what do I believe? I don't know what to think. And so yeah, like but he even says something about reptilians, and she's like, oh man, they're really hard to kill. Like, so she basically confirms that they are also real and as real as they can be in this. Um, I don't remember if it's this issue or another one, but they also talk about like he brings up like, well, what about Santa Claus? And he's like, well, yeah, if enough, I think Lee Harvey Oswald says, yeah, if enough kids believe in it one year, we got to kill Santa again. God, that sucks. Like they've literally had to kill Santa Claus because enough kids have believed in him that year. Like I would imagine it's like when the movie The Santa Claus came out or something, you know?
Yeah.
It's like enough kids believe in it. And I even I did a review for a later issue about Bigfoot this week on our channel and on our YouTube channel. And in that I said like, I wonder, if, one year Harry and the Hendersons came out and now a bunch of kids believe in Bigfoot and now there's more Bigfoot sightings. So same concept, right?
Yeah, that's
Um,
pretty.
yeah. So once they kind of have their kind of heart to heart, we'll say Ruby's not really like super personal with him, but she's just kind of getting to know him, kind of figure out how he's dealing with all this stuff. It seems more like she's working for the company to assess how he's dealing with it, right? More than she's trying to be like a nice person, right?
Yeah.
So after she like kind of assesses him and is like, okay, you're okay. She's like, well, let's go to the basement. We'll introduce you to all the other rejects. And so we meet, we go down to the archives in the basement, which is level 12, I guess. And we meet all these other people who work at the department. A lot of them are like people who monitor chat rooms and kind of stir up things. Some of them are ones who actually plant incorrect conspiracy theories that just obfuscate other conspiracy theories that are that they don't want to gain in popularity. So let's say, so let's say flat Earth is a thing, right? Well, then you throw in, no, Earth is actually, we're living inside of an Earth, or there's the firmament on the outside or something, right? And then that just kind of divides the movement that was already in place from becoming more powerful. So yeah, he meets all these people down here. A lot of them are older. They're from the 60s and 70s. Some of them are kids of past agents and whatnot. But yeah, like mainly this issue is just mostly about like understanding Cole and what he went through as a child, and like how the department has been part of that. We don't really know all of it in this specific volume, because later on they go into how much the department was involved in that satanic panic stuff. Little spoiler for you, John. But he, as Cole is looking through some of these notes and stuff that are like, one of the guys has like the classic, newspapers all over the wall with string and pins going through it.
I did love that, and he's got a tinfoil hat.
Yes, he's like, and you would too if you knew what they were doing. And so like, there's even conspiracy theories inside of the Department of Truth, which is fun, I think. But Cole sees on the wall a picture of the Starman that was drawn by a child, and he's like, what year is this from? And he's like, that's from last year. So it's not just Cole. Other kids have talked about, this star-faced man eating babies. And Cole begins to freak out at that moment. And he's like, oh God, it's spiraling. And basically whenever reality is in question, you're like, as a human, your brain can't handle it, and you start to like vomit or get sick to your stomach or throw up. And so, yeah, that's a concept that runs throughout it, throughout this whole series. And then we get, so like the first two issues are kind of like the introduction, right? It's like all right, like here's the basic idea and the premise. Issue 3 is the one where I was like, holy shit. Like, this book is going hard. It's going hard in directions I didn't think it was going to go. And it's looking at these events through different lenses. And the events it's talking about in this one is Sandy Hook. So we start off with, a guy who looks and sounds a lot like Alex Jones, allegedly.
allegedly.
and he's, you know, yelling about how this was a false flag operation and all this stuff. And over this, you know, yelling, we're getting like the thoughts or some narration about a woman, and she's saying like she remembers the first time she watched one of his videos. She remembers the man's face and his spittle and his rage. She never even heard the words false flag before that day. You know, she didn't even know what it means. And like, could it be real that like in the comments of these videos and in these message rooms that she's being forwarded, these people believe that all this was a hoax? Like, how could that be? Like, she remembers her son. She has him on like, on message because he called her from his cell phone crying that someone was going to kill him. And then he gets shot in it. Right. So this, I don't know about you, John, but like immediately I was like, holy shit, like we're going here. What'd you think about, you know, as you turn to the first page of this issue?
No, I was very I was like, oh, like this is, yeah, because I mean, like this is very even like recent, you know, because in the real world, as far as like the defamation lawsuit that finalized against him, like this was very much like, oof, this is a hard, like this is a hard kind of conspiracy. Like even hearing about the conspiracy like makes me like kind of like, you know, choke up a little and be
Sick
like,
or
oh, like
angry? Yeah.
yeah, like I just can't. It's wild that anybody could believe something like that, but then, you know, like there's things like this, like what is the government doing? So I don't
Right.
know. Like it was weird that, yeah, it was weird and crazy like that. Like you
Yeah.
said, I did not expect them to go that hard in the paint right away.
Right. And this was the first issue that I was like, this is a different series. Like this is, you never see anybody push boundaries like this in a modern day series. At least I don't. The stuff I read, you know, you're never going to get someone doing this. So the fact that he went there, and then the fact that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, is even better, because it starts off, not to sound like horrible or something, but like if you have a liberal writer and they're coming at this from a certain angle, you assume they're going to go a certain way. So I'm like, okay, like obviously we know how this is going to go. Where we see like the mom, she pulls up to her gated community that she's had to move into because of the amount of harassment she's been getting and stuff online. And then we see the security guard talk to her, and he's even watching the Alex Jones video where they're talking about her and this false flag thing, and he's nice to her and stuff, but you're like, I wonder how that colors how he looks at her as, you know, someone he's supposed to protect. It's a interesting thing that they pose there. And then as she goes inside, we see that down the block, there's a car watching, and in that car is Cole and Ruby. And funnily enough, the wife or the lady in this, who's the mother of the child that was killed, she actually picks up that those two were there. She's like, oh, there's a van there. That's weird. Two people are watching me. And we find out that she's been getting dossiers left by something called the Black Hat. It's like a little folder, like a manila folder that has a black hat symbol on it, and it has all this information. And this was what I was talking about with, this doesn't go the way I think it's going to go. Because it doesn't say that any of this was real, obviously, or like that it doesn't say that the conspiracy theories are true. What it says is that she is willing to believe the conspiracy theories because she wants her son to be alive so much. Like that concept was like, whoa, that's a really interesting approach to this. Like she goes on to these 4chan websites and stuff, and she begins to say like, yeah, I think it is fake because she wants her son to be alive so much, and she wants it to be a false flag because that would mean that her son is alive. And like once I realized that, I was like, holy shit, like this is so much more deep than I thought it was going to be. Like, did you have any thoughts about that?
Oh yeah, no, I was like, I very similar. I was like, what? Like, is she gonna will her son back into existence? Like, that's fucking insane.
Well,
Like,
maybe not her, but if she believes it and she's the mother, right? Then she
Mhm.
talks to all these 4chan guys and says, yeah, he is real, or he is alive. It was a false flag. And then that belief that they all have on top of hers, kind of goaded by her, makes it real, right? Like that could have happened. And that's basically what they say at the end of this. Like that's why Cole and Ruby are here, is because they have to show up and be like, yeah, no, you can't spread this. This is fake. This dossier you're getting is from like another bad organization called the Black Hat, and this isn't real. So they go in there to, like, I guess, get the information more than, like, basically they want to make it so she doesn't have proof that she could show any of the people on the forums and stuff about this being a false flag operation. And all the proof is, I don't even know if it's doctored or not. Like, that's one thing about this, is the proof is about, like, because anything can manifest from belief. So maybe they do have these things that are real, at least that they could film where they're at, because they believe it so much, or they want it to be believed so much. And then that ends up making reality for the rest of the world real too, eventually. I don't know. They haven't gone into that deep yet in some of those aspects. But the concept, that's why I like the series, because it constantly has you questioning, like, what exactly is real? What is, what are they trying to say here? What's possible in this world? So like I said, Cole and Ruby break into her house when they think that she's sleeping to get this information. And the woman is not asleep. She has a gun. She knocks Ruby out, and she holds Cole at gunpoint and then explains to him how she got to this point where she kept getting dossiers left at her doorstep. They were showing her actresses that looked a lot like her, explaining that they were faking, that they were part of this conspiracy, and that this son is real and he's alive and all this stuff. So that's why she is starting to believe it herself, because it's easier to believe that than it is to believe that her son is dead. And so eventually, before the woman freaks out and shoots Cole, Ruby wakes up, knocks her out. They get all the information and delete all of it, and burn all of it or whatever. And so now the woman doesn't have any proof, but she's still alive at least. They left her alive to I guess have to deal with it and come to terms with her son. Like, she's not able to do the plan that she was thinking, which is reveal all this stuff to the message boards so that her son would be brought back to life.
Yeah, so, no, she has to live and deal with, like, come to the fruition of, like, no, her son is really gone.
Yeah, she has to deal with it. It's like the last panel of this page, or the last page of this book, of that issue, is her screaming, out in pain and horrific, anguish about her son being dead, and her having to realize that. So that issue for me was like, holy fuck, like, that issue itself needs an Eisner. Like, that is one of the most powerful issues of something I've read in a very, very, very long time. And like that to me is like the best of what comics can be, right? Like that is like reading The Watchmen, or even more hardcore than that, because this is based on true events and things that actually happen in our world. So like this is kind of like what, like, the best, or the most provocative and intense that a comic book can be. And I fucking love it. I haven't read anything like this in so long. I don't know. Did you have any reaction like that I had?
I don't think I had quite the level of profoundness that you did. Not to say that it's not good, but like, this is just one of those things. Like, as I read that the first time, I was like, I'm so fucking confused. Like, she got this information and she's trying to give it to them so her son can get, like I said, my mind was to, like, she's giving it to them so they can spread it so her son can, like, come back into existence. My brain is like, what? How is this even, like, possible?
You're still struggling with the idea. The main concept.
I am. I was. Yeah, I was very much like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, how do you will a person back into existence, basically? Because that, or he's been hidden this whole time, right?
I don't know, John. So, you tell me. Elvis is still alive, and so is Tupac.
That's different, because Elvis never died. That was a
well, neither did this kid. This kid was a false flag operation, right? If that information got spread,
that's true.
And
I
believed.
Guess. So that kid was working for the government. They pulled him aside in elementary school, and they're like, "Hey, you want to make $10 and get a bag full of lollipops,
a bag of gummy worms?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna pretend you're gonna take one for the team.
Yeah.
Pretend to get like I don't know, like man, that was
Yeah, we don't need
like
to go
it's
in depth about
no
that,
no no.
but yeah, like it is. It's funny to me that you. I can't imagine reading that and like not like because that concept was so not new to me that like I just read it and was like holy shit like this profound thing hit me and then you read it and you were just like I don't understand. So it's just a funny like different perspective depending on what you've read in your life or whatever I guess. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah.
you calling me dumb? I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, you could be more well read. Let's put it that way, John. You could
Yes,
be.
yeah, no, and I think that's the thing is that like so like I like you said like now I understand more, especially as we've talked through some of this, and you made some of the concepts more like oh like I that breezed over me or whatever. So like now it definitely is more well yeah more profound in
In
my mind.
fact, John, I would suggest you go back and reread this now that you grasp the concept fully, and it will then hit you of how amazing that issue is, especially if you think about comic books and what they're capable of and what have they been used for in the past.
Yeah,
You know, like to me, this was as profound as some of those lines in Watchmen where he's talking about, you know, how you are a miracle because the chances of your parents getting together are like 1 in 1 million billionth or whatever, and like what is time and all that kind of shit, like that mind blowing stuff. That this was on the same level as that to me, like especially that one issue was just like holy fuck, like this is profound, and that doesn't come along very often in any medium, regardless of comics or whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, so and like I said, the third issue was kind of like it was a step away from. It was kind of like used to show how this stuff can be abused or used evilly because previously we've just seen it in kind of innocuous things like flat Earth or the moon landing, shit that doesn't actually affect someone's life as hard, as like as hard hittingly as it did to a mother of Sandy Hook child. So um, so it was I thought this issue was a real nice like in-depth dig into what it could mean for these things to be true or not and all that. So then we go back kind of like to the main story where we see like obviously we were introduced to the Black Hat in issue 3 and we were even introduced into the Black Hats in issue 1 because that was kind of the organization that was putting on those events, trying to get people to believe certain things about flat Earth and whatnot. But in chapter 4 or in issue 4, we get kind of the resurgence of them through the eyes of, and this is a very interesting concept as well. What do you do if you're a journalist and someone hands you information that basically proves certain things, conspiracy theories, or it looks like it proves it? Do you have a obligation to like report those things? And so we didn't say this before, or I didn't say it before, but Maddie, Cole's husband, actually works at one of these newspapers. I don't remember I don't think they say it's like the Washington Post or something, but supposedly a reputable newspaper. And I don't think he's a journalist, but he's like, he knows people. But this issue starts off with two journalists in a room, and one of them is talking about how he's been receiving information about how Barack Obama was not an American citizen, and it all looks real. And like that he has, he thinks he's like, should I report this? Should I not? I don't know what to do. It seems like it's legit. Even if only some of it's legit, it still is worth the truth being out there kind of thing. And so there's this whole like back and forth between these two reporters where this guy's explaining what he has information wise, and all of it was sent to him by the Black Hat. So all of it we can assume is fake, potentially. But then in the next room, we see a bunch of TVs, and we see Lee Harvey Oswald is actually watching them have this conversation in the room next door because they're in the same like hotel. They're just like one room over and watching. They're like, they have them, under surveillance basically. And I liked this issue a lot because it's just literally like Oswald and Cole standing in front of like a wall of TV screens as these two reporters go back and forth about whether they should reveal this or not, or is this true or not. What do you think of this issue?
Oh yeah, I liked it a lot. I liked this. It brought back like one of the young girls from the agency that taps phones and
Yeah,
stuff.
she's like a hacker or whatever.
Yeah, I like that. It was very much like a. I like Lee Harvey's like this is good, but like I wish we could have better shots of this and that. And she's like, well, I don't I didn't have a fucking drone to like zoom around the room or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's not
Yeah,
how
he's like,
things
I want
work.
a close up of their face and the way that they're talking. She's like, I have like 10 cameras in different mounted in different areas, but they're still cameras. I can't zoom in and move them around and shit. So, um, but yeah, like basically what this issue, what the information that the reporters have been given is basically a giant conspiracy that ties all these other conspiracies together, from like how Kennedy and that whole dynasty is tied to Barack Obama being born, how they from birth picked him to be the president in 2008, and how every president after him or every president before him was handpicked as well for specific reasons. So it's like tying all these different conspiracy
It,
theories about each president into one big conspiracy, which is even more damaging, I would assume, because you're
yeah,
like
yeah.
making
It would
all of them legitimate.
it would just yeah, it would destabilize like everything like we even know. And it was crazy. It was like it's like a 12-part
Yeah,
conspiracy of all these connecting things. And like each time every time I read the next blurb about how this connects to this, and then I'm like, this is fucking insane. Like
yeah.
like I like if it like this is supposedly this is real for them, but like how does this one thing even make sense then? Like it's very wild.
Well, it's not real yet. This is
No,
they're trying to make it real by sending it to these reporters, right? So they've got enough, we'll say, evidence or enough true sounding things in these dossiers to at least make the reporters, who are real reporters and are trying to do their job, they're trying they it makes them question, like, wait, is this true or not? Because hey, I think we all know actual government conspiracies have happened in
mm-hmm.
the past, and you don't know about it until after the fact. So if they're like, wait a second, maybe some of this is true, maybe not all of it, but maybe parts of it are, we gotta at least look into it. So the fact that they're willing to like even talk about it and look into it is too much for the Department of Truth. It's too dangerous for anybody to have. So as as the reporters are talking, one of them, the one that's trying to talk it out, or the one that's being convinced, I guess, by the guy who's been getting the information. He's like, well, how do you know all this? And he's like, well, I know that there's government agents in the room next to us, and we could just go ask them. So at the end of this, Oswald hands Cole a gun and says, why don't you let them in? And then the reporters come to knock on the door, and then Cole talks to them. And at first it seems normal, and the reporters like, they walk in and there's just a wall of TVs, and they're like, well, it's nice to know I wasn't just being paranoid. And then the reporters are like, well, are you NSA or CIA? And then one of them turns to Cole and says, you're the good guys though, right? And then Cole puts the gun up, and then you just hear bang, bang. And he murders the two journalists. So right there, you get another like, wait a second, are these guys the good guys? Like, these were innocent people. Yes, they had information that could be dangerous, but couldn't
but
you
yeah,
have explained it to them in a certain way so that they wouldn't publish it?
yeah. Like I mean, you see in like just in as a perspective, like you've seen in movies, like, hey, like we're gonna pay you such and such, you have to like keep this quiet like forever or whatever, right? Like, but no, we're just gonna like I guess like that's the only way to really like plug a leak or whatever, is to take it out. But still, like yeah, and you could tell Cole had a problem with it too because he was like, I think so. He looks like he's crying as he's
Oh
having
yeah,
issues.
yeah, he had a big problem with it.
Yeah, so but
Also, these are people that he knows. I think he's met them at like parties with his husband, because
yeah,
he's gone to work parties with his husband, and they work for the same newspaper. So it's like, oh shit, you know. But yeah, I thought that was like it was a little bit of a slower issue because you had to explain all the tying of the threads of those different conspiracy theories together. But by the end of it, you're like, holy fuck, he just murdered him. And, he did it. Like, I mean, yeah, he was crying, but still, He
He
pulled the
did.
trigger. So that's interesting. And then we get like, I didn't think this one was even in this trade because it kind of starts a different arc, or it starts the next arc. But we get the 5th issue, which is all about there being a secret reptilian, like New World Order base underneath the Colorado airport, right? That's what it is. Like some airport in Colorado. So we get introduced to a new agent who's named Agent Hawk, who takes Cole around and kind of explains. He like takes him to the airport and he's like, hey, why don't you take this bag for me? And all this stuff. And basically they're going to like blow up the airport so that when the responders come, because the conspiracy theory is underneath this airport, there's a bunch of tunnels, and those tunnels lead to this secret bunker and all these reptilians and all this stuff. But what actually is, there's a bunch of tunnels for all the different baggage people, because I'm assuming because it's so fucking cold up there that they don't want to have all these people outside. So they made this tunnel system underneath the airport. But it ended up becoming a conspiracy theory. And so the idea that Hawk has is, well, if we plant a bomb and it explodes and then they got to put a fire out, a bunch of news crews and people will be able to see, hey, these are just like maintenance tunnels. They're not like conspiracy theory, government tunnels or whatever. And so basically that would stop people, or at least slow down the spread of the idea or the belief that these are some kind of secret things. But at the same time, Cole is being approached by, he gets like taken by, what's his name? Baker, right?
Yeah, he gets basically he gets set up to meet with this gentleman named Martin Baker.
Yeah, and the reason why he even goes along with this is because he's so disillusioned by having to kill those 2 officers, not officers, 2 reporters, that he doesn't know where he stands anymore. He's like, am I good? Am I bad? Is the department good? Are they bad? I don't know what I'm doing. So the Black Hat, who Martin works for, he's like the head of the Black Hat, approaches Cole and is like, let me bring you over to our side. Let me explain to you why we're correct. So there's this whole, try to like seduce him to the dark side. But at the same time, we don't know. I mean, obviously they're not good, but neither is the Department of Truth, appearingly. So we don't know where anybody's supposed to stand. And I fucking love that about this series. We don't know who's good and who's bad. We're just kind of with Cole on this journey. Was there anything that stuck out to you about this issue specifically?
Yeah, I did like that the Black Hat guy was like, hey, like we don't want people to believe anything. We're just giving them a platform to put it out, which is kind of like that, like, that's that kind of gray area is like, well, like, yeah, okay, so that's like the freedom of speech, but like, or the freedom to get your information right, like your soapbox, so you can have people out there. But then like, you can't yell fire in a movie theater, right? So it's like, where's the line of?
I mean, you can. It's just against the law.
Yes, but I guess what I say is like, like where's that line of like, so like people can believe what they want to believe, right? But then how much? Yeah, like, and I guess that's the whole like back purpose of this is like how many when does it get outrageous? Like how many people believe into it that it, like
Affects
manifests.
reality.
Yeah, affects the zeitgeist of like the future
Society.
of the society. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I love this series, because they're talking about big ideas that actually are questions nowadays in real life. But like set in a comfortable, easy to digest comic book. So I don't have to get too freaked out. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's basically, he meets with Baker. He has this meeting and he actually finds out that the Starface is real and like that Baker has him. And he like, the Starface actually comes out of a back door and is like, hi, Cole, and like grabs his face and is like, hungry. I'm so hungry. And he's even talking about a pizza party and stuff. So they're kind of tying this old Satanist thing from the late 80s, early 90s into Pizzagate and things like that. So it's very interesting the way that they tie all this together. But by the end of it, Ruby ends up busting through the door and saving Cole and pulling him out of there. And yeah, that's where we leave it, where it's kind of everything's up in the air. We're not sure if Cole's in trouble or not for meeting with Baker. We're not sure what Cole believes or not. And that is the end of that first trade of the Department of Truth. So, John, with that being said, what would you give it, and what did you think?
So by the end of it, this is where it got me back in. Like, so like the issue 4 of like seeing all the conspiracies and tie and like how that ties in, and it was like, okay, that's fucking insane. Like, this is definitely wild. And then seeing Black Cat there, and then him like kind of going into like the way things are like talked about now and questioned about now is very much like this is very relevant, very like, ooh, like where, you know, this could go in so many different ways, and I have no idea what. And then specifically because Ruby says like, oh, also, by the way, we've known at the department that Black Hat has been watching you your entire life.
Right.
And so, like, we were trying to recruit you before them. And it's like, well, gosh darn it. Like, why is Cole so special? And like, why are they fight? Why are these two agents, or not agents? Well, one's an agency. Why are these two entities, you know, like going after this one guy? Like, why is he important? And this is that thing that he's believed his whole life, is that conspiracy part of this even greater thing? Like, it was very wild. Like, I by the end I was like, why is this thing, why is this last issue, I need more, I need to know what happens.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I was hooked by the end of this. I was very much like you said, I didn't quite fully like understand and feel it right in the middle there, but it brought me back around enough to like I said, I kind of figured out like the idea of what it was trying to do, and like now I really want to know where it's going. So I was in, and I'm ready for more. I definitely want to read the next one.
Well, you definitely should, because it is one of the best books I've ever read. And for real, like all 22 issues are fucking amazing. And
Is it a complete story?
no, it's not done yet. It's on hiatus.
Oh, okay.
It's been on hiatus for like a year, I think.
Do you know? Like, I don't know. I'm just, this is my own curiosity now. Does he have a plan of like a specific ending to this?
I
Or is it
assume
just
so.
open?
I don't know. He hasn't
Okay.
said anything about it as far as I know.
Okay, that's all. I just
He
didn't know
better.
if
I'm going to be pissed if he doesn't.
if they're just like, keep writing until you feel like you want to end it.
It seems like he does. It seems like he has a very clear path about where this is supposed to go. I think you have to if you're dealing with such serious subjects. You know?
You're right. Especially like, so like this got me in a way that like American Jesus did, is the next closest one I'm gonna say, because like that one, like I was a little iffy, but then as I started reading, I'm like, this is awesome, and then it came together. You know, luckily when we started reading it is when, you know, right around when he finished it, and I was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so great. This is such a concise and cool story, and it's all well put together, and you can see how he grew over time there. So this one I'm really interested. Like, I want to see where this goes, and I kind of want to know like what this is all about and how this wraps up, like where this goes. So I'm definitely like, I'm sucked in on this one too now. Yeah, I thought it was great. The art, we didn't talk about it as much as we went
It's
through, 'cause we
fucking
kinda
amazing.
explained it, but like as it goes through it, like it is so cool to go between like classic conspiracy of like the red lines connecting things on certain pages to like the weird, like you said, like creepy, splattery, like wash to it, like it's painted basically.
Yeah, it looks
um
like old Bill Sienkiewicz paintings from like the 80s. He's a comic book artist that did a bunch of Elektra stuff with
yeah,
Frank Miller and whatnot. So,
yeah,
or
it's
like
gorgeous.
you might know his work from the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas movie DVD cover, like the Criterion Collection. I don't know, he did that cover, I believe.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah, it's very yeah, like you said, like art
Splatter.
splotchy, very,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what
I
did you give it, John?
Oh, sorry. I would say, yeah. I was trying to remember. I think, but yeah, I forgot. I started following him a little while back because I saw he had put out some art for some of the newer movies that came out recently too, and I was like, oh, I really like that. Anyway, it was great. I really enjoyed it. I want to know more. And I'm gonna give it an 8.
An 8. Nice.
Yep.
That's higher than I thought you were going to give it since you didn't understand it. But I'm assuming since we talked about it, you feel clearer on it. So maybe that's why.
Very much so.
Yeah. So I'm going to give this a 10. You might have guessed that, but
Yep.
this is my new favorite series of the last 15 years probably. I'm obsessed with it. I fucking love it. I need to get every issue now. I have the hardcover. I'm just into it. So yeah, I fucking love this thing, and everybody else should check it out too. As long as you're able to like stomach, some people can't handle, like they get just angry or upset about like political stuff. So obviously there's politics in this as far as conspiracy theories and talking about those things in the modern day. But I think it does it with a very nuanced and interesting approach that doesn't just turn you off if you're a certain political leaning or not. For me, at least, I didn't have any issues reading it. I'm not like right or left wing necessarily, but it definitely. I liked that the nuance in it. I liked the way he approached the story about the Sandy Hook mom. It actually made it feel very more emotional because it's like her wanting to believe her son is real and all that kind of stuff. So, or isn't dead, I should say. And so, yeah, I like the way they approached everything really well. And I think Tinian is becoming one of my favorite writers for his independent stuff, at least. And I can't wait to see where this goes once he brings it back out of hiatus. And he better fucking do it. But there has to be an ending to this. So he definitely sets up a lot of stuff in the later issues. So, and then I will say, like the 2 issues that I covered for the review I did of comics last week, the wild fiction special is what I covered. That was like a little 2-part, or a 2-issue little special they put out to be like, here's some of the best of this series. And I got to say that was what actually hooked me on this series in the first place. I read that and was like, oh my God, I fucking love this. So definitely go check this series out. I highly recommend it. If you can handle some of those harder hitting political things. And yeah, so with that being said, I know next week is February, so we're doing Black History Month as we always do. And the first book we're going to read is Philadelphia by Rodney Barnes. I've been wanting to read this for a while, but it's a horror book. That's pretty much all I know about it is people talk about it. It's a horror book. I think it's vampires, but I'm not 100%.
That's the kind of the feel I got from looking at some of the covers. I've been interested in some of Rodney Barnes stuff for a while. I've been kind of like lightly. I don't know. I think I first noticed because I saw he was bringing back Blackula,
Right.
Which are some of my favorite blaxploitation films from back in the day.
Can't get John to shut up about Blackula. That's true.
I know it was just it was a fun romp of a flick, and so I thought that was cool. He's bringing it back, and I looked into some of his other stuff because I also liked the art on it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like he's the Philadelphia was one, and he did some so I think some Marvel stuff. So I was interested to check it out, and so Black History Month, perfect time to spotlight Black artists, Black writers, Black creators, and so if you can, since this is our Patreon exclusive, we're also going to have the poll for y'all. That poll will be again incorporating Black History Month. We're going to have a couple different ones on there we have not touched on the podcast before. We've got Truth, Nita Hawes, Nightmare Blog, Superman versus Muhammad Ali, and Black Panther 19.
Yeah, and you guys can vote on that when we put out the poll after next week, and then we'll do that one for the second one. So, and then we might just usually like maybe we'll pick whatever got second place or something, or one we want to read from that list for the exclusive. So you might get 2 from that list if you are lucky. So, with that being said, I think that's everything. Is there anything we missed, John?
No, I just again I want to say in particular I'm really glad that you that's part of the reason we started doing this. We've been friends for so long, but is that you're introducing me to some really cool comics, and I'm really like that you found this one. Like I said, it's obviously up your alley, and I'm glad you showed it to me because this is a very cool comic.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you liked it, and
I hope you all liked it.
Huh?
I was saying I hope the patrons liked it.
Oh yeah, me too. But with that being said, we will see you guys on the next one. Oh, also, I should say thank you. You might have heard John's mic sounds a lot better. His voice is a lot clearer. That's because we got a new mic thanks to y'all giving us Patreon. So thank you for your support. We love you all, and we will see you guys on the next one.
On the next one. Thank you all so much.